we depend largely on foreign aid and support to solve our own problems, you know, and we have learned through history that that has not been the effective way of solving our problems. So the call is for Africans to stand up and act for Africa.
Yo, Rebel Sons, SB, BMP. Sipati picha miaka iliyopita, wakati dunia na vita, mataifa yalitajirika, kampuni za Amerika zilipiga dili na hip taswira za kawira, sawa mfano wa duara, ajira bado bira, sababu ya utawala wenye hira ndio wanazira, mikataba mingi ni ya uchwara, busara za machotara, Afrika ni kwa biashara, wazawa tujara, tumelara kiasara sara na wara, tunapapara misara kwa masakara, wajinga wanaliwa, dhulumiwa, kisha wanaachiwa mabaki ya samaki.
I come from Megamark, which is a lifestyle marketing agency. You wouldn't think we'll be doing this maybe. You know, we have Rage from Rebel Sons. These are artists. We have some people actually working with us from Oxfam, from various organizations. So pretty much the brand or organization here, it doesn't really have that solid touch really. It's pretty much an open idea to you know, everybody.
Okay. And the cause is to well, help donate money.
Well, Africans Act for Africa is a wide concept. One, yes, donate money where need be. For instance, at this time where, you know, Somali. Speaking of the situation in the Horn of Africa is a disaster that is attracting like attention of almost everybody. When you look at the figures, just to give you an idea of what the situation is on the ground, you're speaking of 12 million people in 3 countries. You know, Somali, which is most affected, north of Kenya and southwest of Ethiopia. Together, 12 million people in that region are affected by hunger. You have tens of thousands of children, you know, dying of hunger. Like, for instance, in the past 90 days, you know, we have seen 10,000 of children dying. 500,000 people right now at risk of death. You know, those are like headlines, or rather outlines, which will give you an idea of the severity of the situation.
Okay, another interesting fact that you know, I believe, is that Dadaab is the biggest.
Dadaab, man, is now the biggest refugee camp in the entire world, man. When you look at the population, it's like 400,000 people. You know, is maybe to bring the point home. This is like twice the size of the population of urban Morogoro. Okay, you know, double that.
Yeah, and they actually have 1,400 new refugees arriving each day.
Each day. Actually, if you look at the update figures, it's about 1,500 now.
What must us Africans do to help out the situation that's happening in Somalia?
Everybody has a part to play. One is the situation right now requires immediate humanitarian response, like now. You know, so that entails giving donations, giving what you have to help with people, but it also requires long-term plans, you know, to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Right, and well, this is a little bit behind. Today is actually the 19th? Yes, it is the 19th, but August 15th, 2011 was declared by the African Union to be the Solidarity
Day of Solidarity, Pan-African Day of Solidarity, sort of like, you know, take time to realize that, you know, our fellow Africans are facing this problem, and we need to come together to sort of make sure that, you know, we help the situation.
Okay. Now, artists have a major role to play in society in terms of changing the culture, raising awareness, because they are prominent. So what role do you think you as an artist can play in affecting the situation in Somalia?
Time is just 1 minute, 2 seconds, right? As an artist, I usually have 3-4 minutes of the people's time just listening to me, listening to what I'm saying. So obviously I have a big chance for me to just put out knowledge that we have to act before this becomes like more than just a disaster, more than a catastrophe. It becomes death, it becomes nothing, becomes the end of us. Not only as Africans, but as Africa as well, because this is a big deal. if 12 million people are suffering just in the in the neighborhood of East Africa, then boy, it's dangerous for us here as well.
It's too close to home.
It's too close to home, and if you really think about it, I can't really say that here in South Africa is far because it's only a 3-hour flight. So for the trouble to reach down there, for the trouble to reach West Africa, North Africa, it's very easy. So as an artist, it's also very easy to grab the time of the public and let them know how much you are concerned or how much you know and how much you want to help. Not only that, how much they can contribute to making a difference and a change in their place of living, Africa.
Okay. Right, that was well put. Right now, it was Chedi and RAGE. They're here with me regarding, they're part of Africans for Africans Act. And this is in conjunction with the famine that's happening in South Somalia, okay, in the Horn of Africa. And we'll be back in a few minutes after we hear a word from our sponsors. Time is 8:49. I'm still in the studio with RAGE and Chedi. Okay, 1/3 of Rebel Sons and 1/3 of Masero, and together they're actually for a cause, Africans for Africans Act. And we're still discussing, this is all in conjunction with the famine that's happening in the Horn of Africa that's affecting over 12 million people. What do you think the causes are for the troubles, the hunger, the drought really in the Horn of Africa?
Well, since like last year or 2 years ago at least, we've been doing stuff like about climate change, trying to raise awareness about climate change, and it seems that not a lot of people have woken up to that call. So obviously some people will still not be aware that climate change is actually one of the primary causes for this drought. Obviously it's drought, so there's no rains, so obviously food prices go up. You know, people can't afford things like, you know, at the price of maybe elf tano for some, like 5,000 shillings for something that's small. They will usually buy it for maybe 1,000 shillings, you know. But it's because there's drought, there's no food being grown, you know, it's hard.
All the cattle and the herds are dying out.
Yeah, they're not eating. So farmers, pastoralists, all of this, like, everybody suffers. You know, so we still have to wake up to the fact that we have climate change as a very large problem in Africa, not only in Africa but in the world. So as a continent that produces a lot of food and is highly known for agriculture, you know, having droughts is very, very bad, and it's obviously going to affect stuff like this, hunger.
This is one of the worst droughts ever seen. If you look at just to bring home this point again, for Kenya, it's the first since 1950s. You know, they haven't seen any drought like this before. For Somalia, they're going back to the early 90s. You know, so it's serious. And then it's also worse because there's been series of drought spells leading up to this time. So obviously, climate is a problem. But at the same time, when you look at the region, it's not a coincidence that the most affected areas are the least developed and the poorest areas. You know, so that also kind of highlights other problems, which when you look deep into, you realize there's been marginalization and lack of investment in the region. And, you know, so the infrastructure, so the situation of Somali is like a song we're playing in the media right now. Since the 90s, there's been political conflicts. So that has damaged infrastructure, makes access into the region such a problem. You know? And at the same time, you know, adding to that, there's a broken regional and global food system. When you look at the whole thing in the bigger picture, because you have areas where we have surplus food, people actually will throw away food, and you have areas which people are going hungry. So you know, it means the world food system is not yet in a position to cater for such crisis.
Do we blame capitalism for this one?
Well, it's a discussion. It could be capitalism. It could be the entire global system. You know.
Well,
so I'm not an economist analyst or political analyst, but you know, one could argue capitalism could be a problem. Other could say it's not a problem. So let's just look at the
there is more than
problem
enough
themselves.
food for everybody in this world.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
There's more than enough.
You can get to it.
Yeah, that's it.
The system has to be adjusted to respond to such problems. But at the same time, I think when you go back to investment, look at it this way. For Somali, 60% of the economy, let's say pastoralism plays like 60% contribution to the country's economy. And right now, 60 to 90% of cattle, livestock are dead. So that gives an example, or rather, not really an example, but it brings the point home that it's something has to be done. It's something to do with the economic system. It's something to do with the entire approach of social systems in the region.
This is the Morning Express on TBC International 90 FM.
For all this Africans for Africans Act, this is all building up to the August 25th date, right?
Yeah.
August 25th, the heads of state will be holding an emergency pledging conference, and our call is for them to make concrete plans. First of all, to respond now, and to put in place long-term plans to ensure that this doesn't happen again. Now, if you allow me to just elaborate on that one real quickly, is when we say the government should do something, we're not bringing utopia into the context. There are actual plans which could actually work, and just to outline a few of those is if they could put long-term proper investments in food production to make sure that we have enough produce in every region, which is very possible. Yes, we have drought on one hand, but if you have measures like water storage facilities, for instance, Israel is in the desert, but they have successful agriculture. So experts of agriculture could probably
Invest more time.
bring in more critical points in this one, sort of like elaborate to the detail. But it's very possible to have sustainable food production in that region. So we want the governments to respond positively to that one. Infrastructure, to make sure that the areas are accessible. Farmers can take the food they have produced to the markets. That will add incentive to produce more food, and then if you produce more food, then you're looking at having surplus food. Once you have surplus food, then issues of hunger could be history. Then, of course, security and peace in the region. We cannot overemphasize the effects of lack of security. It destabilizes societies, and obviously we can see the consequences now. Then, of course, when we speak of storage facilities, it goes back like in history. If you read those old scriptures, they will tell you of 7 good years and 7 bad years. So drought is not a new occurrence in the planet. You know what I'm saying? So we're talking of strategies like grain reserves, for instance, to make sure that the country, when we produce, we have enough stored for the worst times to come. So with this view, I hope you get to see that governments actually they can lay down realistic and feasible, practical plans to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Yes, okay. I thank you guys for being here today. You're
Thank you.
You come back anytime and speak about your cause. Well, our
Thank
cause
you.
really
Thank you.
is-
Thank you.
Can I just say something?
Yes,
As an artist, calling out to artists, not only artists but people in general, we got to know that as citizens of our country or place of livelihood, that we are actually part of the government, so we have a big contribution as well. We're bigger than the government. There's more people in society than there are in the government. So think about what you can do, try and do it, and even if you see that you're getting no results, keep on going. People don't give up so quickly, People don't stress the radio presenter because he's not playing your tracks. You have YouTube, you have MySpace, you have SoundCloud, you have so many places where you can get your information out on different platforms. Facebook is always all out there. So if you're a person who's concerned really, an artist who's concerned really, Get out there on the networks that you don't even have to use money for. Maybe just 2,000 for an hour of your time in internet cafe, man. That's contribution enough. Just to say, yo, work for Africa as an African. You know what I'm saying? Because if not, we're just gonna die. We're gonna end up in a cemetery, and the cemetery is gonna be our continent. Now we don't want that to be our destiny. You get me? So fight, stand up. If you don't want to be in a place where, you know, you're crying because you can't get food the next day or you can't feed your child, you know, do something, stand up, work. You don't just sit there and wait for the government, because the government might not do anything. You know, we are the government, we are the movement, we are the people, we are the world. So do something about it, man. Stay blessed, people.
I'm building foundations as the voice that can teach while building up in frustration. My choice is the peace, so I kill it their patience. My boys are locked down and deceased. My fingers praising white joy, so hunger increased. Is inevitable, potential can never be reached. The intellectual seems to be incredibly weak. Don't wish death for all, but drown under the levels I speak. Cause at this step you fall victim to the devil in me. I focus my strength, cause my inner rebel can see the hocus pocus and pretense preventing us to be free. Notice outside cocaine is grown and flown to DZ. Justice is murdered by bribes, so why supply to the streets? Horny hustlers love for those that fuck rely on their greed. And being mangy mutts, these don't keep two eyes in their feet. Disguising them fiends, they don't realize them guys are police. And that they're miserable with prison glue applied to their feet.
Destiny is ticking out.
Alright, I'll stop it right here.
The hour is late. We must act now before it is